Hello, everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk About Christianity. I'm Zach. These are the co-hosts, Keith Albright and Pablo Calderon.
I'm Keith.
Hola,
Oh, I
soy
thought you were
Pablo.
Pablo. People probably
Yeah,
think you're
Pablo.
Pablo and that he's Keith.
I wanted
They
to
mix
make
it
that
up
distinction
from
clear
time to time.
that I'm Keith. I'm definitely not Pablo.
You look like a Pablo, Keith.
You mean young and handsome?
Ooh. Pablo thinks highly of himself
Wow. Okay.
and his
I see
exotic
how
skin, as he would
I
say.
see how this show is going to go. But yeah, we want to welcome everyone. This is, and we've been terribly remiss about this part here lately, but this is season 3, episode number 32, and number 123 overall. So I want to get that out there, good and early, in this episode. Episode 32 of season 3.
32.
Yes.
How many
And
episodes do we have per season?
We average high 40s.
So we're getting close to season 4.
48, 40, so usually about 48 or 49, something like that.
Right.
But yeah, well, let's see. This is I don't know. Is this the last Wednesday in January? I believe that it is.
No, there's one more.
Is there? I think you're lying. I think you're wrong. But anyway.
29th.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I guess it is. Okay, so we got one more, but then we've got February, March, April, May. So that's, 4 months, and 4 times 4, 16. So we're going to get 17 more episodes in here, I think. So
17.
yeah, before this season ends. And that's just pretty cool, that we've been able to do that. I'm proud for us. I'll say that. That we've been able to accomplish that. So let's see, Pablo, we cut you short last week. We didn't mean to, but what's happening in Callao?
Oh, well, the year started with a new Christian, a young lady of 14 years old. And
yeah, I think you told her about it.
To become, yes, but the reason why she did it, okay, she's 14 years old. She's been part of the children classes since we started the church in Callao.
Oh, very good.
But her mother was in very bad health condition. She has a tumor on the head. She had a very good surgery that she started to recover, and because of that the girl witnessed that event. She came one day to the Bible study on Friday, and she said, I want to become Christian.
Wow, that's awesome.
With a very clear and high-tone voice.
What was her name?
I want to be Christian. Yeah, her name is Gabriela.
Gabriela. Okay.
Gabriela.
Yeah, I think last week in the course of the episode, I think you did mention her and mention her name, if I'm not mistaken.
And that's it. This Saturday, some leaders of the churches that you know in Peru were getting when you talk about different topics, about Bible topics. I don't know how you call it in English, like a open, discussion.
Open forum.
We're gonna talk about the autonomy of the church.
Mm-hmm.
Things like that. Yes, and because some leaders are not clear mind, about it. So we're gonna share the Bible, and we all of us are going to this meeting with a good will, like we want to do this, and we want to encourage the church. So that's it.
Well, of all the things that you could do, the more you get together, the better. The more you
that's
can get
it.
together.
That's the principal purpose that we are quoting on the chat group that we had. No, that's the reason to make the
The
church
more that you
bigger.
get together, the better.
Yes,
And I
that's
think
the
sometimes we
purpose.
overlook that. Sometimes I think we overlook that, Keith, in the United States.
We sing that song though sometimes, you know. We sing that song sometimes.
How's
So
that song go?
the more we get together. Yeah. Anyway.
I love it when you sing.
Pablo loves it too.
Anyway,
yeah, it is hard to sing this early in the morning when it's this cold outside.
I blame it on the weather too.
Yeah. Oh, the weather's
it's a crisp
terrible
71
right
degrees.
now.
I mean 17.
Hey, we're 25, I think. So, but that's we were at 17, 18, somewhere in there the last two mornings. But okay, so Zach, anything going on over there?
We have an area-wide youth devotional coming up this Sunday at 4:30. It's going to be at the Paintsville congregation. So if you're in our area, we would invite you. If you know anybody who is a youth, bring them. Love to see them, have them. Area-wide youth does a really good thing for kids of the congregations all over the area to get together. And really the whole focus of it is so that they can get to know each other, that they become friends, better friends, and that they have other Christians upon that are around them, because that's friends. And I think one of the biggest things that they need to make some friends. And one of the biggest things that helps the youth, I really think, is knowing that there are other people out there who are going through the same things that they're going through, same temptations and all of that stuff. And how can we get through those things together? And I think that's one of the greatest things about the area-wide youth devo. So if you're in the area, come out Sunday, 4:30 in the Annex building at the Paintsville Church of Christ. It's going to be awesome. Keith, Saxton?
We had a lot going on over this past weekend. We had a congregational marriage retreat. It was, just our congregation. Okay. And unfortunately, Stacy and I were not able to attend because of other commitments. But we've heard just fantastic things about it. And while that was going on, there was also a youth rally in Jackson. And we had, there were 10 or so that went to that on Saturday and Sunday. And then we've got stuff coming up. Actually, I think February is kind of quiet, and then March things really, the end of February and into March things really start ramping up. But hey, it's all good. It's all good.
There we go. The marriage retreat that we go to in Pigeon Forge, that's in a couple of weeks too. It's such a good thing. It's an awesome trip, and it's a really awesome event too. And if you're not a member of the church and you're married, I would encourage you to go. Only being 4 hours away, it's a really good trip. All right, Keith, what are we talking about today? Let's talk about Christianity.
I don't know. I'm not big into marketing ploys, but I keep reading all these studies that, it's beneficial to people if you give them a short list of things. And so that's kind of what I've been going for and making the outlines the last couple of weeks. And I was, preparing this outline, and I was thinking about ways that we can worship better. And then I get to think, and I had 4 things. And I got thinking, you know what, we struggle to get through 2 in the time frame that we have. And so I thought, I'm just going to boil it all down to 2 ways that we can worship better in the year 2020. And it, worship is one of those things that, hey, we do it every week.
Right.
We come together multiple times each week with the purpose of worshiping. And for some people, it gets redundant. For
It
some
does.
people, it gets just kind of the habit. And I was listening to a discussion yesterday, and I talked to so many people yesterday that I don't even remember who was saying this about who, but that they were talking about a lady, I think it was a lady, who would only come to church on Sunday morning. And she told whoever it was that she was talking to that, if you want to go, 3-4 times a week, that's great for you, but that once a week, that's all that I need. And I'm listening to this conversation and I'm thinking, bless her heart. She just doesn't realize what she is missing. She thinks she's just getting, like that much in the bottom of her cup. And, how much better is a full cup? By the way, Pablo,
well, and we had
random, I'm chasing a rabbit here, but, the Munya tea that I purchased, oh, that is good stuff. I love the Munya tea. I drink a cup every night.
Wow.
Very, very good. Yeah. Why are you saying wow? Is that too much? Am I drinking too much?
No, because when you come to Peru, I will give you the herb of Muña.
I think he may have an addiction. I think he may have an addiction to some tea. I don't think it's a good thing. He seems a little bit on edge. Are you craving the tea right now, Keith?
Oh no! I drink the tea in the evening before I go to bed. Now I've got the
I was
high
going to say, you didn't
octane
substitute
stuff
that
this
tea for your
morning.
coffee, did you? Because that would be
No. But so where was I before I got on?
Well, I had something to say.
I was talking about the woman. She's only getting her cup this full.
We had a member of the church who used to say that he stops and gets gas 3 times a week, and he was talking about worship. And he said, I stop in Sunday morning and I worship and I get my tank full. He said, then I get a little bit less. I come back Sunday evening, get my tank full again. And he says, as it goes throughout the week, it gets a little tough. And so I come back Wednesday night on Bible study and I get my tank full again. And it lasts me until Sunday morning. And I think a lot of times that's a really good attitude to have when it comes to worship. And I think it's an attitude that a lot of people lack when it comes to worship. And I also think it's because they misunderstand worship. They don't understand what it is. And we're going to kind of get into that today, I guess. But I think they misunderstand the purpose of worship and the importance of worship.
No, we're not getting into that. But what I was talking about, though, or what I wanted to get into was, maybe some ways that we could keep it from being redundant and, getting into that attitude or that mindset of, well, I have to go to church or I have to go to worship or, whatever.
To be the operative term.
Yeah, have to. So anyway, the first way that we can make our worship, I don't even remember how I phrased that anymore now. What did I say? I texted it to y'all a while ago. To make our worship better. Yeah. One way that I can make my worship better is if I am worshiping with purpose. Yeah. And in that regard, there are some things that we need to take into consideration. We need to be considering who we are worshiping, why we are worshiping, and then realize that just the greatness of our God and what a privilege it is to be able to worship our God. And as we consider his mighty works, as we consider his wisdom, as we consider the marvels of his salvation that he gives to us, I feel like I'm reading a script here, but I'm not. I feel like this should be in a lectureship book somewhere, but I'm not. We should appreciate that privilege and that opportunity that we have to worship our God. And So when we think about purpose, I just wanted to throw some ideas or some things out. Um, one thing that we sometimes run into, and that is, sometimes you will hear people say, "Well, it's just so hard to get up on Sunday morning." Um, worship ought to be something that we should be thinking about and planning for our worship on Friday.
It's something we should be eager to do.
On Saturday.
Right.
I have made this offer to many people before. I'll throw it out here to all of our listeners on our podcast. If you struggle with getting out of bed on Sunday morning, let me know. I'll call you. I will be happy to do that. I'll give you, if your Bible class is at 9:00, I'll give you a call at 8. I don't mind doing that. If that'll help you get out of bed. But if we're thinking about it on Saturday evening, I just want to challenge you to try this. Just give this a try. On Saturday evening before you go to bed, in 3 days, is that 3 days? Saturday, 3 days?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Lay out your clothes for Sunday morning. I mean, like, go ahead and pick out what you're going to wear. Lay it out like you are a second grader for the first day of school. And, go into the bathroom, tidy up the bathroom if it needs it. Lay out the things that you are going, that you're going to need. And, for me, that's like, a hairbrush and deodorant,
Right.
But for some people, they require, a little more utensils or, whatever stuff. Yeah. And, lay that stuff out, have it all laid out. And, even though, and you may feel silly while you're doing it, but while you are doing it, think about why you are doing it, and think about, I am making this preparation for tomorrow morning to get up and to go worship my God. And then when Sunday morning comes, don't sleep in an extra 15 minutes because you made all that extra preparation. Go ahead and get up at your normal time, or if you need to, go ahead and get up when the alarm should wake you up instead of when the alarm finally wakes you up, and enjoy that preparation that you had made. But while you are making the preparation, you need to be thinking about why you are making the preparation.
And I think if we're talking about, go ahead.
Oh, no. I was just saying that will help to focus your mind on what you are going to be doing the next morning.
Yeah. And if we're talking about worship, you're talking about object, you're talking about attitude, and you're talking about action. And those are really your three components of worship. And I'm reminded, as Jesus was traveling from Judea to Galilee, and he stops at Jacob's well, he engages there with a Samaritan woman. And while he's engaging with this Samaritan woman, the topic or the conversation turns to worship. And he says in John chapter 4 and in verse 23, but the hour is coming and now is when the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth, for the Father is seeking such to worship him. And there's two things that I really get from that verse. One, God desires our worship. He is seeking for us to worship him. But then I also get those three components of worship, and that is object, that is attitude, and that is action. And the proper object of worship is God. The correct attitude in worship is in spirit. And the standard, I guess you could say, by which our worship is judged, or the standard by which our worship is measured, would be the truth. And I think a lot of times we know who the object is. We know that we're worshiping God. I think what we struggle with is the attitude. Because I think sometimes, and I'm guilty of it just as much as the next person, I'll go off somewhere. And preachers are sometimes like this. Sometimes it's hard for us to focus on the worship at hand because we're thinking about our lesson. We're thinking about what we're going to say, what we're going to talk about, where we're going to go, and so on and so forth. And I think sometimes it's very hard for us to really tune into the right attitude in worship. And the action, obviously, is the standard by which our acts of worship are measured, and that is by the truth. And as long as we are worshiping God in spirit and in truth in the way that God desires us to worship him, then we're worshiping him correctly. But I think the big one is attitude, and that's kind of what Keith was getting at. Attitude. Be prepared. Don't sleep in on Sunday morning because you stayed up late on Saturday night. No Saturday night that you got to get up and go to Bible study on Sunday morning, and so go to bed early. Get a good night's rest so that you can wake up, you can go to church, you can have the right attitude. Your mind won't be hazy because you're tired, and you can worship God in spirit and in truth. And I think a lot of times the attitude thing is what we really struggle with. And it's not just in worship, it's in any Christian context from time to time. And I'd say Pablo's got something maybe to say about that too, attitude. But that's what I think about when I think about the purpose of our worship. Pablo, you got anything to add?
When we change of building, because the old one was small, Fernando is one of the preachers in Callao, and on the first sermon on the new building, he said, I think I said it before here, it doesn't matter how many times we can change building, no, for a prettier or a bigger, if our attitude don't change.
Right. Yep. It's a very good point.
If we are not on time on the service.
Right. Attitude is everything. And you could tie that into a lot of different teachings in the Word of God.
Yeah,
specifically, the Good Samaritan comes to mind. But
yeah, that doesn't matter the size of the building, or the good sermon, or
right.
the preacher you have of.
Right.
Exactly.
And another thing that I've always heard too, and if we're talking about in a worship context, is the sermon that's delivered by the preacher. You know, some people say, well, I don't really like to hear that person preach, or I didn't really get anything from that lesson. My mom's always told me that it's up to you to get something from the lesson, or it's up to you to get something from the sermon. And I think a lot of times we overlook that as well. I think Keith's falling asleep on us because I'm on a tirade rant here.
Keith.
He's silent.
Do what?
Keith, I'm done.
I'm done. Yeah. Are you?
I'm done.
No, I was just thinking about a passage in First Chronicles where it described the worship at the tabernacle that David established in Jerusalem, and describing the different groups of Levites and their service in the tabernacle. There were some who were gatekeepers. There were some who were their job was to prepare the showbread. And it had never really dawned on me that there was a bakery there at the tabernacle, and there were people who it was their job to go in and to prepare that bread. And just thinking about the preparation that they made, and then all of the singers that David appointed, and it just sort of dawned on me that they were actively engaged in preparing the music that was going to be offered in the worship there at the tabernacle. Well, that kind of triggered the thought of our singing that we offer to God. Now, I know that we sort of make a joke sometimes about passages such as "Make a joyful noise to the Lord," and we and we make the point that it really doesn't matter what it sounds like. But
sometimes that joyful noise doesn't sound the best.
Sometimes that joyful noise is lacking in a little joy. and singing and making melody in your heart to the Lord. And we might make jokes about how the singing actually sounds to us, but then we automatically make that point of, well, it doesn't matter how it sounds to us, it matters how it sounds to God. I think it does matter how it sounds to us, and I think it does matter how it sounds to God. And I think that we need to put everything that we can into making it sound appealing.
Mm-hmm.
And that places a great burden on song leaders. And it's not just let's flip the book open and go to whatever song pops up first. But there's a lot of thought and preparation that goes into. I know our song leaders here at Shady Acres they put a lot of work into song selection, but then so often that leaves everybody else, I hate to say, out in the cold. But if we're not doing our part to be diligent to offer those songs to God as we should, then we have been negligent. And I would encourage you, this is something else that I want to challenge you to do this coming Sunday. You probably don't have access to what songs are going to be sung before the worship, but you do as the worship goes on. Write those songs down during the worship, and then take a songbook later and go through line by line, word for word, those songs that you have sung, and realize the importance of those words. It's something that we have to really focus on and concentrate on. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to throw this third challenge out. If you bring an electronic device to worship and you simply cannot stay off of Facebook or stop texting or whatever, and I'm not trying to present this as a getting on anybody for this. I'm presenting this as, if you genuinely have a problem refraining from opening up Facebook or whatever during worship, leave that thing in your car. Power it down and put it on the seat, on the floor, under your pew or whatever. Remove that source of temptation, and that takes some willpower to say, you know what, I know that I'm allowing this to distract me from doing what I came here to do. Just leave it at home. Get rid of the temptation. Hey, we just crossed the 28-minute mark, so we need to wrap this up. Well, I told you that we were going to give you two things, two ways that we could worship better in 2020, and we spent the whole time talking about one. I'm glad I didn't bring all four. Well,
that's all right. This is how it is. You know how we are. We can't make it through more than two.
Yeah, well, maybe we need to come back and talk about the second one next week. I don't know.
There we go.
But anyway, we want to say thank you very much for listening, and remind you that we have our Facebook page. We've got our website. If you want an email reminder of when new episodes are released, you can go to our to our website, and you can sign up for that. Scroll down to the bottom of the page, and the link will be there. And we just want to thank you for your desire to serve your God, and that is so important, and we appreciate that very much. Any final words? Nope. Okay.
Thank you guys for listening.
I tried to sit back and let y'all do some talking today. Pablo managed to get 3 or 4 words in. But
Zach managed to get one rant in.
One 20-minute rant in.
Yeah, just a 20-minute rant.
Yeah, we know who the ranter is now.
We know who the ranter is now.
we got to go. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next week.
Ciao.